Don't just come at me and tell me I'm an idiot. Hey, what is up, guys? Jabber1 here, and in today's video, we're going to be breaking down 10 of the most known gaming and film creatures and how they stack up on who would win in a battle. I hope you guys enjoy this video, so sit back, relax, and let me know your thoughts in the comments below, but let's not waste any more time and get right into it. Alright guys, now that we're here with the tier list set up, as promised, I have 10 creatures below from different game and films. And to go through the list, we have the Bioraptor from the Riddick series. We've got the Predator from, of course, the Predator series. We've got the Deathclaw from the Fallout series. We have the Demogorgon from Stranger Things. That there is a Tyranid from the Warhammer 40,000 series. Next up, that is an alien Praetorian. It's hard to see down in that image there because it's all kind of dark. But that's an alien Praetorian from the Alien series. Then we have the Mimic from Edge of Tomorrow. Next is the Death Angel from A Quiet Place. Then we have the White Spikes from the Tomorrow War. I almost forgot the movie for a second. And then last but not least, we have the Terrormorph from the Starfield series. So as you can see, we've got quite the ensemble here. If you haven't seen any of the films or media that some of these originate from, I highly suggest you check it out. All of these are super cool and intriguing creatures with interesting backgrounds, and seeing them on film or in-game is a really cool thing to check out and see how they integrate into their own medias. Alright, so let's get started now with the Bioraptor. The Bioraptors come from the Riddick series, and in the Chronicles of Riddick, they have been seen to use echolocation, and they have no eyes. So they have zero visibility, but they have a strong sense of smell, and they use that combined with the echolocation to track down and hunt prey. And in the Chronicles of Riddick, Riddick's able to kind of basically outsmart these creatures as well as be invisible to them by getting up close and personal to the point where their echolocation actually doesn't work if you're directly in front of them and not really moving, staying right in front of the creature. So I would say, based on what we've seen from that film, and that film alone, it's the only media that they're actually in, I would say those Bioraptors are actually going to land down here in, unfortunately, the D tier. While they do pose a significant threat and were shown to be quite strong, when paired with everything else on this list, they're just not going to be able to compete with some of the overall brute strength or survivability. Now, they are, like I said, they are strong. They can take off some bullets, but again, they're not going to line up to some of the other creatures we have on this list, and for that, comparatively, I'm going to give them D tier. Now, if I were to just give them standalone in their own world and universe, they would be significantly higher than that. But being that we're comparing them against some of these other aliens and creatures from other media, they just don't stand up as well. Next, we're going to get into the Predator, the Yautja. And the Predator is, well, first of all, the first Predator film is my all-time favorite movie with Arnold Schwarzenegger. Come on, what are you doing? Dylan, come on. What's the matter? The CIA got you pushing too many pencils? Mac! I cannot get enough of that film. And even Jesse Ventura in that movie is great. But the Predator, super strong, super agile, extremely tech-dependent in some ways. But, I mean, even without the tech, they're willing to throw it all down and scrap with prey that they deem worthy. A Predator is a hunter. It's basically got a gentleman's agreement. If no one else is armed or not attacking them, they're just going to let you be, because they're here for the hunt. They're here for the trophy. They're good sports. They're not going to just come out and instantly go into battle against the innocent. What I will say is the Predator seen to have very good durability, takes a lot of hits, very strong physically. Like I said, agility, jumping from tree to tree. And then, of course, if you bring their tech into it, the invisibility and the plasma cannon, those two things alone, not to mention they've got the combi spear, they've got the shuriken blade that they throw. There's a number of things that they have in their arsenal that are going to place them up into A tier, but not quite S tier, because if they do happen to lose some of their tech, while they are strong and durable, they're just not quite strong enough to stand up to what I would consider an S tier being. And even with the technology, while they can kind of glimpse into S tier if they've got everything in their arsenal, you take some of that out and their kind of strength just dwindles overall. So a solid A tier from the Predator. Now we have the Deathclaw from the Fallout series. Now the Deathclaw, when you first started seeing the original Fallout games, and then of course, you get into more recently into the Fallout TV series, the Deathclaw is large, it's imposing, and it's a little scary even. And the Deathclaw was designed to look in such a unique and cool way. I would say the Deathclaw, extremely strong. You can see it throw vehicles in the games or in other media for the Fallout series. And it is no slouch either. It can take rounds upon rounds of laser rifle shots or even minigun. And hell, even if you have a launcher, if it's not a fat boy shooting a mini nuke, the Deathclaw is probably not going down. So I'm going to take the Deathclaw and I'm going to put it right up here with the Predator. I could honestly go either way to be in front of or behind, but I'm actually going to place it behind the Predator. Reason being, if the Predator happens to catch the Deathclaw off guard or has any type of height vantage point, that is going to take out the Deathclaw, especially if it has its plasma cannon and invisibility cloak. That thing doesn't stand a chance against a well-armed Predator. And if it comes down to blows, sure, the Deathclaw is going to take the W if the Predator is unarmed and fighting it. But of course, if the Predator even has its spear or its wrist blades, I still think the Predator has a chance to come out on top against the Deathclaw. Now, let's get into the Tyranid Warrior. The Tyranid Warrior from the Warhammer 40,000 series is a monster. Now, of course, if you're familiar with Space Marine 2, you'll see that the Warrior is shown a lot more frequently. You engage it in battle significantly more than normally I think previous media would kind of highlight the actual Warrior. But it is just an imposing and scary and deadly weapon. And when I say weapon, I mean the Tyranid Warrior is truly a weapon wielding large bone swords most of the time. That's how it's depicted. So the Tyranid Warrior is an incredibly powerful creature, to the likes of which I think it outbattles the Deathclaw, but I do not think that the Tyranid Warrior is still going to go above the Predator. I still don't think so. If you look at a Space Marine battling a Tyranid Warrior, Space Marine in a 1v1 is stomping a Tyranid Warrior. I'm sorry. Yeah, if you look at, more of the, we'll call it the read media or the watch media, sure, it's more of a struggle, but in the gameplay mechanics of Space Marine 2 and in some of the other games, a Space Marine is able to obliterate with overwhelming firepower and strength. And that's where I think that even a Predator, considering it's significantly smaller, a large Yautja is maybe, 7 to 8 feet tall, whereas a Tyranid Warrior dwarfs that. But I still think that it's going to absolutely dog walk a Deathclaw, but it's not quite going to be able to take out a well-armed Predator. And in the love of the Space Marines and in the Warhammer universe, you have to respect that firepower matters in that universe. And in this case, the Predator can still outmatch a Tyranid Warrior with its firepower and its invisibility cloak. Now, let's talk Demogorgon, okay? Demogorgon is an interesting creature because if you look at the Stranger Things franchise, you can see it fighting astoundingly well, taking out dozens and dozens of well-armed soldiers, but then you'll also see it getting beat up by Jim Hopper with a spear torch. And it's like, okay, it has a very glaring weakness, and that very glaring weakness is fire. If anybody has fire at their disposal, bye-bye Demogorgon. And even without fire, it's very strong, but it is not stronger than anything else that we've seen on this list so far. I'm not going to take it down as low as the Bioraptor because it has the Rift Walk capabilities. and it is relatively bullet resistant. But I'm going to put it probably in B tier, and by being in B tier, it's like bottom of B tier. Very much so, bottom of B tier. So even if somebody else is put in B tier, it's like as low as B tier goes. There's probably a gap between anybody else in B tier and the Demogorgon. Now, some people might disagree and say, wait a minute, but the Demogorgon, it should be A tier. I mean, they're so strong. But if you take the hive component into the equation whatsoever, they get just shit on if anybody else is using flames on some vines nearby. I mean, the Demogorgon, while it's strong on its own, it has many weaknesses that can be exploited. And for that, I'm giving it the bottom of B tier. Now, let's talk Alien Praetorian here. The Praetorian is not your average Xenomorph. Okay, the Praetorian is essentially an ascended version of the Xenomorph. No, this is not Dragon Ball Z. But it is an ascended version of the Xenomorph. And by that, I mean you have your face hugger that comes out of an ovomorph. Then it becomes a chest burger after incubating somebody. And then out comes the little chest burster. And then it grows into a Xenomorph. And typically at that point, when it's a full-grown Xenomorph, it's a drone, which can then kind of evolve into another sect of warrior. So the two, it either becomes a regular standard drone or a warrior, really. There's other options too, with the runners and everything. There's so many variants based on what the facehugger jumped on, but we're going to stick to it's a drone or it's a warrior. But if it's a warrior that has time to grow even further and it becomes a queen candidate, it becomes a Praetorian. And a Praetorian is not a queen, but it's basically a buffed up version of a Xenomorph. Extremely agile, extremely deadly. Some of them have the capability to fling acid, which their blood is completely acidic. It'll corrode and melt right through metal and armor. And they are extremely intelligent hunters. I mean, very smart hunters, to the point that I'm actually going to take the Praetorian and put it in S tier, because a Xenomorph Praetorian, I mean, on its own, can wipe out an entire squadron of colonial marines that are heavily armed. Not to mention, you pair that up against a Predator, and you look at a Tyranid, which is a complete direct ripoff of a Xenomorph. No offense to the Warhammer 40,000 universe, but they designed it to look like the Xenomorph because the Xenomorph looks cool. But you look at a Xenomorph Praetorian, and while physically a Tyranid warrior and a Xenomorph Praetorian, if they fought, it's going to be a good battle. A Praetorian is strong enough to now kill Predators on the regular, as seen in Aliens vs. Predators game from the late 2000s, maybe 2010. So, and of course, that's one source of media. Well, if you use that logic, then you can say that a Tyranid warriors. Nope, I'm gonna stop it there, because the Xenomorph Praetorian literally has killed, in other media through the comics and everything too, multiple Predators in some cases, and then grows on to become a queen. So the scalability of being this Praetorian and having the ability to stand head-to-head against a Predator and typically win in those scenarios, I think gives it the edge. And not to mention, if it did fight a Tyranid warrior and the Tyranid warrior happened to win, or the Predator happened to win based on circumstances, most likely they're still going to die from the acidic blood splashing onto its opponent. So, at the end of the day, if it's a draw, it's a loss for both, because both are dying at the end of the day. And because of that, I'm going to have to put it S tier. Now, the Mimic from Edge of Tomorrow. By the way, if you have not seen Edge of Tomorrow, Tom Cruise, Emily Blunt, fantastic movie. Highly recommend watching it. The Mimics are another hive creature similar to like the Xenomorph or to the Demogorgon, in that they're connected through the hive. And in this case, there's like a time element with the Mimics. They're extremely strong. They have extreme veracity. And their goal is to wipe out mankind, basically. So when they come to Earth and they start battling with humans, I mean, it is insane how easily they can tear through a unit of soldiers. And it requires them to actually have, essentially mechs that they can operate to stand a chance against these Mimics. And these mechs, if you think that the Alien Queen had it tough against that large mech that Ripley used in Aliens, the second Alien film, I mean, these mechs are fast. They have weapons attached to them, and they're designed for combat. And these mimics do a number on people that are using those. And because of that, some people are going to hear this and they're going to be like, wow, this is a wild, wild pick. But I'm going to actually take mimics up and put them at bottom of S tier because of the fact that they are so fast, they're so durable, and yeah, they typically come in numbers, which so do the Tyranids. Tyranids are always in mass quantities. But these guys pack a heavier punch, and the kill shots are more common. And that's the reason I'm taking mimics to the bottom of S tier. Now, the Death Angel from A Quiet Place. Holy crap, am I going to get some flack for this one, guys. The Death Angel from A Quiet Place is, in my opinion, the most overrated creature in recent media history. The concept overall is good, but the fact that they managed to wipe out humanity like they did with such an astounding weakness is ludicrous in my opinion. It's almost like logic went out the window when they decided that they wiped out most of humanity because it should have never happened. Our military, after the impact zone of these guys coming to Earth, would have had the Death Angels wiped out in a matter of months. Months. I don't care that they breathe in space. I don't care that their armor is completely bulletproof. I don't care, because when they have to listen, and to listen, they open their head up. You get loud noises going, their head wigs out. Anybody with a brain in the military, after watching a single drone footage, would have learned, holy shit, their heads open up when something happens. Then you draw a connection to, oh, their heads open up when it's loud. Pretty easy way to discern that we can kill these guys by making it super loud with big-ass speakers. And that would have been the end of that. And I mean, not to mention, bombs dropping are super loud. You drop a bomb, you have a few guys and a couple copters, just go pew-pew, and they're done. Done. So the premise, with their background, I'm sorry, but these guys are coming down into C tier. I'm still not taking them down the D tier, but these guys are C tier at best. I'm sorry, A Quiet Place, but the premise is just silly to the point that a regular 12-gauge shotgun kills it with one shot after messing with its ability to hear auditorily. And because of that, it is a C tier creature at best, because anybody with a brain can figure out how to kill these things just so long as you don't get hit first. So to that I say C tier. Now, the White Spikes from the Tomorrow War. These guys are strong. They work in packs. They shoot projectiles, which on this list thus far, nobody other than the Predator have really been large proponents to projectiles. The Tyranid Warrior is a big melee guy. The Deathclaw, of course, is melee, unless it launches, debris up at you or launches some kind of rock or boulder. It's not really shooting projectiles. There's no projectiles really with the alien Praetorian. It can launch some acid if it's the right type of variant for a Praetorian, but typically it's not a big projectile launcher. Same with the Mimic. The Demogorgon has no projectiles. The Bioraptor has no projectiles. This guy's got projectiles, and he uses them regularly. As you can see if you watch the film, it's regularly launching projectiles at the protagonists in their group. So they are very much a huge threat. They can pile into vehicles, Humvees, and flip them over running at top speed. But much like other people on the list, or creatures on the list, they're susceptible to gunfire. And they're susceptible to gunfire enough that I cannot put them justifiably much higher than the top of B tier. And if you're looking at this list and you say, Josh, A Quiet Place monster, the Death Angel should be higher than. No. One shot to the dome and it's gone. One shot to the dome with these, they're not necessarily dead, okay? Now, a White Spike can die with one shot to the dome, whereas these guys can get one shot to the dome, and they're okay. They're not going to die if there's not any sound. But you fire the first shot, they're honing in on where you're at, shoot again, they're gone. So again, these guys can tank some bullets. These guys can tank infinite bullets unless you aim for the head while there's sound being present. These guys operate in packs, much like Death Angels can theoretically. But because they launch projectiles and because physically they're significantly stronger, because Death Angels aren't throwing cars, these guys, by running into vehicles at top speed, are launching cars. So for that alone, they're stronger. The projectiles, I'm giving them B tier, just above the Demogorgon. Now, which just above the Demogorgon, as I stated, Demogorgon still further down, just barely above the Death Angel. Last but not least, we have the Terrormorph. Now, I want you guys to think, where do you think I'm putting the Terrormorph? Josh has over 1,000 hours in Starfield. Oh, he's a Bethesda fanboy. No! That's not what's going to happen. The Terrormorph, however strong it may be, with the mental component where it can actually invade the psyche of humans and get them to do basically ridiculous things like turn on each other or harm themselves through basically an assault on your mental fortitude. A Terrormorph is super strong as a bullet sponge, super strong physically. As we've seen, we don't watch it flip vehicles and stuff in New Atlantis when you do the Terrormorph questline in Starfield because it's not animated into the game. But they are strong enough to do so. As you can see when you go, there are turned over, debris, vehicles. When I say vehicles, it's more so vehicle like weighted equipment because Starfield only has one vehicle and it's yours and they don't interact with that. So they're strong enough to do so with some of like the debris and things that are thrown about in New Atlantis, but they still are not going to make it above the Tyranid warrior. Now, if I put this here, a lot of people are going to say, hang on, you're telling me a Terrormorph is beating a Deathclaw? And to that, I actually respond with a yes, I am telling you that. Because they can burrow, they are extremely durable, especially on their backs, and they have a lower center of gravity than a Deathclaw. So they would beat a Deathclaw in a fight. I'm adamant about that because, of course, they can also do a mental assault and potentially make the Deathclaw one of their thralls because they are highly intelligent relative to the intelligence of a Deathclaw, which are also known as highly intelligent because some of them speak, but it will invade your mind and actually use your thoughts to like talk against you and turn your head inside out. And that takes a lot of intelligence. Not to mention the fact that these guys can shoot projectiles as well. So they shoot projectiles. I'm putting them above a Deathclaw, but I'm not putting them above a Tyranid warrior because a Tyranid warrior, also intelligent, but also extremely, like, they want death. And with those giant bone blades, I just don't think that at the end of the day, the Terrormorph comes out unscathed if it survives at all. So that is my tier list. Let me know what you guys think in the comments because holy cow, this is quite the list. And, as much as I think that I did no wrong with my listing here, I know I'm going to have some people think to the contrary. So again, let me know what you guys think down in the comments. I hope you enjoyed this video. I love engaging with you guys. So if you think somebody should be somewhere else, don't just come at me and tell me I'm an idiot. Tell me why you think somebody should be placed elsewhere. Like, just tell me why. Don't just tell me I'm an idiot. But to that I say, thank you so much for watching. I can't wait to see you guys in the next video. Let me know what content you want to see as well in the comments below, and subscribe if you want to see more of me. But until next time, guys, well met, travelers.